Well, good evening. This is a time for the People's Court, the all-important conversation on liver health. And of course, with the great Linda Alela.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, the great. You said it right. And we all understand that some of the conditions that we have discussed here, and including this one that we'll be discussing, are largely about your lifestyle, right? And therefore, you might be lucky that you probably do not have any form of liver condition as of now. But reality is that if you decide to just have a careless lifestyle, then chances are. But anyway, before it gets to that point, because we are not prophets of doom, it is important that you be part and parcel of this conversation. Tell us what it is that you make of what it is that we'll be discussing, just to make sure that we are at the level of preventing you from getting any condition that would be related to liver concerns. But of importance, if you have been diagnosed with any, then we have specialists that are going to help you understand how best you can get to reverse this. If at all this treatment, the medics will tell us, or better yet, how can you live a good life all the same. So once again, the great Victor is here. Welcome. How do they interact with us?
Yes, indeed. So once again, good people, like we said, there'll be the SMS line, which is on your screen, should be on your screen right about now. There'll be a WhatsApp number on your screen as well. There'll be another number for phone calls, which we will be picking from the top of the hour. But first, let us introduce the guests that we have tonight.
All right. And the lady that, I don't know how to make sure that I don't know whether we should tell them to raise their hands every time. Dr. Nyongesa is well known in the country, yeah?
Goodness.
Dr. Catherine Nyongesa.
We start from here?
We start from here and then we go all the way that way.
We'll pick them up.
All right, not a problem. And of course, you say that we begin from this very end. It's an honor to have Lilian Cheruto Mukabane, who's the CEO of Cranford Resource Group. Thank you so much for creating time to be with us. She'll be telling us why she's here, perhaps our case study for the night to, just enlighten us of what her condition has been like, but of importance how she is managing, and congratulations for the coming baby. And of course, right next is Dr. Paul Koigi, who's a specialist obstetrician. This one is always a tongue twister for me, and a gynecologist. Thank you so much, Dr. for creating time to be with us here. This one is a household name and perhaps part and parcel of TV47. Dr. Catherine Nyongesa, once again, thank you so much. It's always an honor having you join us, of course, for this very conversation. Dr. Catherine, you all know, of course, is the CEO of Texas Cancer Center. It's an honor once again, Dr. And right behind, we again go back to the lady, Award Joyce, who's a nutritionist. Every time that we're talking about health, it's important to have someone who's going to advise us on how best we should consume our foods, because food is the best medicine, as they will always say. So Joyce, it's an honor to have you. And equally a household name, another one is Dr. Victor Ngani, who is always here giving us great insights in relations to our health. The Counselor Federation International. What is this? This is a shake. Yeah, that one is what I wanted you to say. Thank you so much for creating time to be with us. That is Medical Commission, yeah? Asante sana. And last but not least, we have Ronald Wawengwe Okelo, who's a medical officer from Mpisha Hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Your bell, sir, for us to begin.
Absolutely. And with that, the People's Court begins
right now.
Now, we know this, that the liver is, I hope the medics will forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm told that next to the skin, the liver is the second largest and one of the most complex organs in our body. Yet, it appears that awareness of liver diseases or liver conditions is quite low, We want to find out why. Perhaps the medics can help us understand. Let's start with you, Dr. Nyongesa. Why do you think this awareness is this low?
Number one, that the liver, it's a hidden organ. So no one of us realizes that you actually have that internal organ. And also, if it is sick, some of the symptoms really delay in showing up. And that is why people are not aware about the liver conditions.
Right.
Yes.
Just how is it declared sick?
Yeah, indeed.
What are some of these things that one can do, or what is this that could get someone, having some condition that, health conditions that is in relation to the liver?
So there are many things that can attack the liver because it has got very many functions in our body. In fact, they call it the refinery of your body. It clears your body from all toxins. It helps your body digest food. it helps your body balance the chemicals or the salts in the body, and many other functions, over 500. So we cannot name all of them. And when one of it is affected, the liver is affected, then things can go wrong. And this could be due to infections. It could be due to inflammations. It could be even due to cancer. And that's why I'm here today, to still also unpack things about liver cancer.
Excellent,
Yes.
excellent. And we're happy to have you for that. For the other people, who has any other reason why this awareness is still quite low? Anyone has interacted with anything that appears to be another reason, in addition to what Dr. Nyongesa said? My namesake, Dr. Ngani.
Yeah, I think in general, as a country, people are not as concerned about healthcare until they have symptoms that force them to go into hospital. And as Dr. Nyongesa said, it's out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
You know, if you are to have a graze on your skin, immediately you know, if you had, Linda, something happened to your face, that's going to be the biggest emergency in the world.
My goodness.
But your liver can actually have significant damage. And because it's quite resilient, meaning that it can actually take a lot of abuse before it gives up. You will not notice, you will not tell. And because of that, many Kenyans will discover only when symptoms come. And again, our big disease, you don't go for health checkups. It's almost a taboo in Kenya. So you'll only discover when symptoms come.
And I think later on, we will hope that all of you help us to unpack just how we can keep the refinery of our bodies, keep it nice and healthy and working in good tick, right? All that will be one of the takeaways of this program.
Routine
Please
medical
prepare for
checkup, which would be
Indeed.
very important.
among other things.
We celebrated World Liver Day just the other day, Dr. Paul.
Yes.
And one would want to ask, just what is the significance of this? And I know we tend to have all these days that celebrate, you know, or perhaps we create awareness and all that. Why is it just like Victor says, we still are struggling with the aspect of awareness? Just what is the significance of this day in terms of making sure that the world understands that we have a refinery within ourselves and this we must take care of?
Yes. So April 19th is usually the date that we have set aside to celebrate the World Liver Health Day. And the interesting thing about it is that the reason why these days are actually set aside is because there's a very large group of very significant diseases that are actually considered within the bracket of being described as neglected diseases, because they're diseases which, when they happen, they put your life, your health, your welfare at risk. But because people don't take time to recognize them early enough, probably because they didn't get exposure to this information early enough, then they don't recognize that you can go to the hospital early enough, get regular checkups, and if a problem is spotted early, treatment is instituted, and with the treatment you get resolution of the problem, and if you're fortunate enough, then you can actually be able to effect a cure. But because of the fact that this information is not commonplace, then you find that these days being instituted is actually specifically for the purpose of creating fora like these, where we can create awareness, because if you know better, then on average you will tend to want to do better. And that's as good a starting point as any, because if you don't know that something is hurting you, you will never bother to look for attention for it.
All right.
Yes, indeed. I want us to bring Ronald in, and as well as Joyce in a little bit. Ronald, from your experience, and could you just break this down for us? Help us understand, how does liver disease, come into play? What are the things that we need to look out for? There are all these different terminologies, all these different diseases that we're told that are connected to the liver. For example, Dr. Nyongesa is here to talk about cancer of the liver. But there's other names here: cirrhosis, hepatitis, fatty liver. Break it down for us. What are these?
Thank you, Victor. Because the liver serves so many functions in the body, it is also designed to get blood supply from two sources, which is quite unique, unlike most of the other organs.
Interesting.
So that means that it is predisposed to so many other conditions as opposed to so many other organs. Now, I think in our region, what is much more common is effects on the liver that come from alcoholism. And because of also where we are, there are a lot of infections. So basically, when we talk about hepatitis, what we mean is an inflammation of your liver. So it's injured in some way. But this does not just come like that. It depends with whatever is causing it. For instance, if it's because of alcoholism, you'll not progress directly to hepatitis. It will start first with some what we call fatty liver changes. So ideally, there's a percentage of fat that is expected to be in your liver, beyond which we say that now you're having a liver disease. So this could be because of alcohol or non-alcoholic causes. Then if this progresses, then you develop what is called inflammation. So the injury is worsening. And at this point, your body will start exhibiting symptoms and signs. Then later on, if this continues, you'll go into something called cirrhosis, which basically means now you're going towards an end-stage liver disease, which is kind of irreversible. In most cases, by the time you reach hepatitis, if you remove the offending agent, then you are able to actually cure the liver. Because like Dr. Victor said, it's quite resilient, and a big part of it has to be injured first before you notice anything. So in our region, there's a lot of hepatitis, and hepatitis is basically, the viral causes mainly 5. So hepatitis A, B, C, D, and E. A is very common because it's basically contracted through ingesting contaminated food and water. So food which basically is contaminated, similar to E. The good thing is these are usually also say they are self-limited in the sense that the body will just fight it off, and at some point it's going to win the war. B and C can be gotten through various means. For instance, they're still viral infections, but they can be transmitted through either your body coming into contact with blood that was contaminated or body fluids which were contaminated. Unfortunately, these B and C, they tend to give you chronic liver disease. And this might be very difficult to treat in the long run. So it's something that you might really need to fight for a long time. And these ones which predispose you towards prolonged periods of disease also mean that they're likely to transform into cancer eventually because of that period of longevity that the body is trying to fight it. Now, we've discussed alcohol. The other thing is what we call metabolic syndrome. Basically, for people who are obese and overweight, people who don't really take good care of their weight, they're predisposed to this non-alcoholic, what we call non-alcoholic steatohepatosis, which basically means non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So diabetes type 2, obesity, things like having high levels of cholesterol, what we call dyslipidemia in your body, all this predispose you towards getting this liver injury. And of course, there are many other disease processes that can still predispose you towards getting a liver disease. In its severe form, malaria can actually also give you a liver disease.
Is that so?
Yeah, sure. Schistosomiasis can give you these things. Amoebiasis can give you liver abscesses. So there are so many disease processes that by themselves can injure the liver. So how do we know that it's starting to develop? The liver is situated on what we call the right upper quadrant. So where your ribs end, just below it on the right side, majorly that is where it is. And it's quite a big organ. It spans from the right, the center, towards the left. So most of the time people will tell you that they start with nausea, they get abdominal pain. As the disease progresses, then their eyes starts becoming yellow, they start having fevers, their stool changes color, it becomes pale, their urine becomes as Coca-Cola or strong tea colored. So all these are things that should really alert you that something is happening in your liver and you need to watch out. So these are the things basically that will present like the signs and symptoms first, and then when you go probably to a health facility, they'll be able to do further workups and then evaluate your liver with more certainty.
Right. I mean, that's been really comprehensive, and I thank you for that. But one of the things you did mention is something along lifestyle and weight and diet as well. And this is where I think we would like to bring in Joyce Award. Talk to us a little bit about the dietary aspect of liver problems causing, and as well as, maybe later we can talk about how to manage a liver condition through diet, for example. But talk to us a little bit about how your diet can affect that.
Thank you so much for having me here. So diet, need to check what are the functions of liver in regards to diet. What does it do? Yeah, and now the liver will come in to store any extra fats that have not been used in the body. So for example, any extra glucose will be taken, stored into glycogen in the liver. And alcohol will also be factored in the liver, because remember, alcohol calories are 7 compared to fats, which are 9, and also protein and carbohydrates are 4 each. So if you have alcohol, high intake of alcohol, it will be fast detoxified in the liver, and if it's not, and broken down in the liver, so all those calories will be stored in the liver. So when you're not working out, when you're obese, you're overweight, you're not working out, then that fat is stored in the liver. So when you get to work out, you're doing physical activity, then that fat is now broken down back to glucose to be used in the muscles or in the blood. Yeah, so if you're not doing any physical activity, that is now stored into the liver and now brings about the fatty liver disease. If you're having low fiber diet, foods that are high in saturated fats, foods that are not healthy,
Give us some
deep fried.
some of these foods.
Some of these foods will
Kenyans,
be deep fried.
listen very carefully. I know some of you feel targeted, but please.
Yeah, so some of this would
Name
be
and shame.
deep fried foods, our lovely chicken that we love to have, our pork that we love to have. So, and others would be like the fast foods, your fries, your pizzas. If you're overindulging in that without physical activity, then that is stored in the liver. Yeah, so you need to get lots of fiber from your fruits and your vegetables. You need to have your unsaturated fats, your healthy proteins.
What are those?
Unsaturated fats would now be your canola oil, would be your olive oil, would be your sunflower oils. Those are the ones you use to cook. Yeah.
Now,
Right.
just one more, please.
Yeah.
Joyce, when we go there to saturated fats, unsaturated fats, there's a lot of debate. There's lots of videos on YouTube. I'm sure all of you have seen. Oh, this is bad. Vegetable oils are not quite vegetable oils. They're this and that and the other. Perhaps a little bit later you can demystify that for us using this platform.
And you know, it's interesting. I listen to them and they almost, push me to a point where I feel like I am tempted to ask questions in relation to treatment. Because then if I'm not going to eat well and then probably I get a diagnosis that I have a liver condition, if I decide to now eat religiously well, will that reverse the whole situation? And equally, I remember Ronald mentioned something to do with remove. I want us to understand that aspect of remove, because remember when we're trying to, brainstorm in relation to this, it is actually Victor who mentioned, nasikia inaweza katwa, and I'm literally saying the way he said it. Inaweza katwa alafu ime ukue sawa upon diagnosis and all that. We're all like, oh, yeah, reversible.
There's only one Dr. Victor here. And
always going to confirm that. I'm talking about Victor Yu. Victor Yu. So, of course, he will be telling us about that. But before then, and before we take a quick short break, allow us to loop in Lillian. Lillian, briefly about your story now that we want to use you as a case study tonight. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the opportunity to share my story today. So my issue with the liver began about 3 years ago. I was just recovering from post-surgery for thyroid cancer scare. And part of the treatment made my liver weak. And so as part of that, I began bleeding extensively. And I developed liver hematoma. So it was quite significant. 2/3 of my liver was pretty much damaged, for lack of a better word, because it had, sort of a big clot that was not able to self-dissolve for a long time. So of course that meant a lot of things that I would take for granted. The foods you eat, normal movements, the processing of anything that goes into your body. And I like what the doctor says. The doctors say that you never really know how important something is until it begins to be affected, like it becomes a medical condition. So so for those 3 years, it was quite a journey. Just being able to recover to date, to be able to conceive, that's like a whole miracle in itself. But the bigger thing is just the lack of information at that point, right? There's a lot of speculation. Do we cut off part of the liver? Because that was part of the speculation. Do we cut it off? There's only one liver slicer in the country at that time. That's what I was told. So I couldn't really trust getting it done here, or what's the best approach to be able to regain my liver's functionality to where it is right now. So it's a tumultuous journey. There's a lot around it. Just the ability to be able to recover full capacity of my body, to consume normal foods again, change in nutrition, change in movement, and all the time also getting over multiple surgeries just to be able to get to normal capacity. Yeah, so
Quite a journey.
it's quite a journey.
Would we say you're there just yet? Normal capacity?
I am there. I do get frequent checks. So to a large extent, I would say 70%, 80% there. Again, what the doctors approved is for a conservative approach, which we agreed to, which means it will take a number of months, maybe years, to fully get rid of the hematoma. But it's slowly recovering to a point where I don't have to take any medication for it anymore. It self-resolves. So the liver is one of the amazing organs that apparently just recovers on its own. So there's very little that had to be done. But again, it's a patient thing that you have to watch over a couple of months to see it self-regulate to a point where you can live a normal, non-medicated life, which I can say.
Two important things that we pick here, and I think we need to take a breath on that.
Yeah, we do.
Note,
And then we do need to unpack when we come back.
Yes. So importance of routine medical checkups and importance of follow-up tests upon diagnosis. Allow us to take a quick short break, and then we come understand some more about these liver diseases after this break.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey.
Right. You found us commiserating and just trying to figure out how to attack this. The liver apparently is a very complex and very interesting organ. And when we were on break, the good doctors here were just saying how it actually has tremendous purposes in the body, many of which are actually ignored. I think you guys will tell us a little bit more about that. But before we went on break, Linda, you were on a line that was quite interesting.
You know, and we're talking to you, and pretty much this, you say, came on board after you have undergone treatment for something else. And therefore we can say it is lifestyle, it is what it is that you ate and all that. Must have felt bad.
Definitely felt really bad, and I mean, unexpected. I was just coming from a thyroidectomy, which means pretty much removing the thyroid. Then post that they say, hey, you know, you had cancer, so now you have to do treatment to make sure that whatever was removed is comprehensive. Then after that, your liver starts crashing, right? So it's like a few months of repeat issues. And I'd been living a pretty normal, healthy lifestyle. I'm very keen about what I eat. I'm not much of a drinker. So then for my liver to start failing, that was surprising. I remember it was so large, I could actually feel it below my ribs. Like I could touch and feel there's something swollen. So I'm telling doctors, I think it's my stomach. There's something in my stomach. They're like, no, that's not your stomach, that's your liver. Like I could actually feel it. So most times, most of us can't feel anything, but it was that swollen. So it really affects almost everything that you do. As I said, you think, you know, normal activity, you eat food, it gets digested tomorrow. You know, like everything slows down. Because at the same time, you're dealing with zero thyroid in your body. And then again, there's this liver condition coming in that is life-threatening, right? So all of that culminated to a lot of risk around just being able to sustain life on a day-to-day basis. Of course, I had to go through blood transfusion to replace the blood that I'd lost internally. Was quite massive. The clot, thankfully, blocked itself, and so I didn't have to, nothing had to be done in terms of surgery on the liver, but then a lot of surgery to clear whatever blood that had, you know, leaked into the gut. But I'm grateful that the liver is now okay, it's functioning well. As I mentioned, we're not 100% there, but we're to a large extent functioning normally. And so that's quite good. But of course, it's important to have repeat checks, even post that. Yeah, to just ensure that everything is fine. And then the dietary part of it is also important to keep it healthy.
Beautiful. And of course, we appreciate that you're here and sharing this beautiful story. Dr. Nyonges, it is scary to imagine that you could be undergoing some element of medication only for it to cause another, you know, concern, of course, for you. So what does this speak? And I'm sure this would instill lots of fears for very many people who perhaps would be undergoing through chemo and, you know, radio and all that.
Yeah, so for radiation, rarely will we radiate the liver. And if we have to radiate part of the liver because the cancer that you are being treated for is close to the liver, we'll have to moderate the doses of the radiation and also manage the symptoms that will come with the side effects of radiation. Even chemotherapy, there are some chemotherapy medicine which can damage the liver. So we have to do what's called dose adjustments for those medication or change totally to something that is safer to the liver for patients who have compromised liver function. In fact, before you get on to chemo, usually the doctor will advise that you have some baseline tests, including a liver function test, to ensure that you will protect those organs. One other thing is that chemotherapy is cleared through the liver. So the liver is an important organ. You may be given chemo for another reason, but the liver has to fight and balance everything, clear those toxins. After the chemotherapy has finished working, it has to be eliminated from your body, and it plays a role. So it is important to keep it healthy during the treatment that you are undergoing. And apart from chemotherapy medicine, there are many, many other medical medicines that can damage the liver. So it's always good to speak to the expert. Avoid too much over-the-counter medication, self-medication. Some herbal medications which have not been tested, people are taking concoctions and they're actually damaging their liver. So it is good that you be aware. What are you putting inside your body? Don't just put any concoction inside your body. And also the government has put up measures for us to take our children for immunization, because we've just heard about hepatitis B and C that can actually cause chronic damage to the liver. So it's good to take that opportunity and take your child so that they don't go through liver complications in future.
All right, beautiful. Dr. Paul, just how comprehensive is the process of, testing, or maybe the test process and diagnosis? Because then if I'm going to sit like this and feel like this bit of my body is swelling, and then I'm actually told that it's actually the liver that is swelling, it's quite dreadful. But at the same time, we'd want to understand, okay, fine, maybe I have all these signs that Ronald spoke about, but then again, I am going to hospital. What are some of the things that I should anticipate in terms of the process of diagnosing this?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think that's a very important question you've put across. So when you want to evaluate the liver, there are several steps. If you're to look at them from increasing complexity, there is, first of all, what you can see with your naked eye, because as somebody is walking to you, you can see them. And what you can see will tell you a lot. For instance, you'll actually be able to spot from quite a distance if somebody has severe liver problems, because one of the most prominent symptoms of severe liver disease is that there's a yellow pigment that is present. Like now, for those who are very light skinned, their skin turns very yellow, and their eyes also turn yellow. We call that symptom jaundice. So jaundice is a very common symptom of significant liver disease. For instance, if somebody has severe malaria and there's a lot of breakdown of blood, then jaundice is also very common. Another thing that you'll be able to spot pretty early is that by the time somebody is having severe problems in that area, there also tend to be other systems that are also directly affected. Issues like if there's so much blood being broken down, then the heart rate will shoot up, and in the process of trying to push that little bit of blood that is now in short supply, then the blood pressure may either be very low in event that there's been a lot of bleeding, or it may be very high in event that the volume is normal, but the number of cells that can carry oxygen are low. So you may have very high blood pressure or very low blood pressure depending on the cause. Now that's what you can spot quickly. Then when now you take time to evaluate more critically what you can touch on the patient, when you'll be able to examine the abdomen. So if the liver has gotten damaged to the point where fluid is now freely passing through the liver, then it goes into the abdomen, and then the abdomen swells. So if it is a man or if it is a woman, if it's a lady, she looks like she's very pregnant, but it's not actually a pregnancy. And if it's a man, the abdomen is very full. So he looks like he has a very public opinion. But rather than it being a public opinion, it is that the tummy is full of fluid. And that fluid, we call it ascites. And for those who have ascites that is really bad, it gets to the point that it's pushing up on the diaphragm and preventing the lungs from being able to expand properly when breathing. We call that respiratory embarrassment. So you can actually see the person struggling to gasp for air because the tummy is so swollen that they can't breathe effectively. Then, when you touch them on the abdomen, you'll actually feel, Dr. had actually described exactly where the liver is located in the right upper quadrant. So the liver can actually be significantly swollen. So if it's swollen beyond its normal size, you'll actually be able to measure. So you'll actually find that the size of the liver can be significantly enhanced, and then it tells you that you have a problem going on with the liver. Like in the case of Lillian, you find that the liver was so enlarged because of the hematoma. A hematoma is defined as a swelling caused by blood accumulating in a space that is enclosed. So now with that hematoma in the liver, because the liver, as you've shown on the picture on the screen, actually has a capsule surrounding it. So when it's full of blood, it swells like a balloon. And then when it swells like a balloon, if there's a point where it can leak out, then it leaks out and starts bleeding. But it's a point where there's a lot of swelling that can occur. So that's what you can see. Then we take it a step further. we take a sample of blood and take it to the laboratory. So amongst the regular tests, there are blood tests which will tell you what is happening within the blood itself, the hematological tests, whereby if the problem is something causing blood to be broken down, like malaria, then you find that the blood level tends to be very low. If you look at that blood under the microscope, you find broken red blood cells. We call them schistocytes in the blood. Then if you look at what is happening within the liver, because there are blood tests called liver function tests. So you find that there are several parameters that you can evaluate. So within that context, you find that you have several enzymes that you can evaluate. So we have things like alanine transaminase and aspartate transaminase. Those tell you that the liver has been damaged. And if there is a problem, like say somebody who is consuming a lot of alcohol, those enzymes tend to go up. There's another one that's known as gamma glucuronidase transferase, or GGT for short, which also shoots up when the liver is directly damaged. Then there's also the level of bilirubin. So bilirubin is the product of the breakdown of blood, because when blood is produced in the body, the chemicals are usually recycled. So the blood cells usually have a life cycle of about 3.5, 4 months, about 120 days maximum, which is just slightly under 4 months. So what happens is that those blood cells, when they've gone through their life cycle, those cells go to the liver. They are broken down. And when they are broken down, they produce a chemical called bilirubin. And that bilirubin is further broken down. And part of the bilirubin, if it is in excess, is usually directed into the intestines. And that is actually what is responsible for giving stool that brown color. Yes.
Oh, that's why you were saying, I mean, Dr. Ronald was saying that the stool will be pale.
Exactly.
As one of the symptoms
of liver failure.
Oh, is that so?
Yes.
Let's take it a notch higher,
yes,
Dr. Ngani, and probably understand.
Actually, just before we go there.
Okay.
Yes.
How then, I'm looking at a person like Lillian, the liver situation, the next generation situation coming.
Yes.
You know, how do those two interact?
So the liver is actually an extremely important organ in relation to hormone production and in terms of how hormones are regulated, because the liver produces chemicals which directly interact with hormones. For instance, if you look at the side of the next generation, there are hormones called estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And those are called sex hormones. So they are the ones which are produced by the ovaries in the female and by the testes in the male. Now, those three hormones are usually carried around in the body by a protein produced in the liver called sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG for short. So that SHBG, if the liver is not able to produce it, then the free estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone shoot up, and then you get complications. Also done by the liver is the regulation of insulin and glucagon. Insulin is the hormone that is used for making sure that the sugar in your blood can actually go into the cells of your body, so that your body can utilize that sugar for its regular activities, the glucose that you're breaking food down to generate. So when your liver is not working well, then your body is going to have trouble handling the insulin which is being produced by the pancreas. And from the next generation perspective, it's actually a significant factor in one of the diseases we call polycystic ovarian syndrome, because if you're not able to regulate how the body is consuming energy, that is actually one of the key components that drives the ability of the ovaries to be able to develop and subsequently release eggs in order for fertilization to occur.
Interesting. So liver problems can actually prevent you from conceiving?
Oh, yes. Okay. And they can also make it difficult for you to carry a pregnancy properly, because there are conditions like, say, we have hypertension in pregnancy-related diseases. We have the most complicated versions like preeclampsia, which causes the blood pressure to be very high. And blood pressure being very high damages all organs, the brain, the eyes, the liver, the kidneys. And when it damages the liver in its most severe form, it progresses to something called HELP syndrome, whereby those enzymes go up. And in the process of those enzymes going up, it is causing that liver to swell, and it's causing fluid to move from the liver into the abdomen. You get ascites, and that can actually end up triggering liver failure. And with the low platelets, which is the other part of the name of HELP syndrome, you get excessive bleeding that can make a woman bleed internally while pregnant.
Oh my!
Excessively at delivery.
Goodness.
Dr. I know we
like
are in the process of learning, but also our business here is to make sure that we do not get Lillian out of this space scared. And that can instill a lot of fear. But
I hope it didn't scare you. I'm so sorry.
I have had all this before. I am prepared.
And you're like, all right, it's okay. Well,
Brilliant.
Victor, or Dr. Victor, we come to you as you unpack that some more, because then we would want to understand how is it broken down for us to understand the difference now, because then that's liver damage, perhaps in general. And then we're talking about cirrhosis, we're talking about hepatitis, we're talking about fatty liver and all that. As you break that down in terms of understanding upon this process of diagnosis.
Hardening of the liver. And
yes,
so on.
as well. So you speak about this and seamlessly get us to the point where we're going to discuss the treatment aspect of it.
Thank you, Linda, and I should call you Dr. Linda because it seems every time I come here, your research levels are
thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's important to understand. We've spoken a lot about lifestyle contribution to the liver, but I want us to know that there are many other things that can affect your liver that's not related to your lifestyle at all. So I'll categorize back to the causes a little bit in a broader way that's easier to understand. There'll be infections. And infections can be amoeba, can be viruses. Okay. When you talk about hepatitis A, B, C, D, and E, those are viruses. Some of those viruses, you acquire them by what you eat directly, but then there are viruses that you can acquire by even sexual contact, like hepatitis B, and there are viruses you can transmit from mother to child. But this is a case where the liver is affected because of an infection. An infection, there are these organisms that come into your body, they're going to affect your liver. So that's one item. The second way to affect the liver relates to poisons and toxins. So the body, the liver is very keen to get rid of every harmful substance that you get into your body. It's your refinery. So some of these harmful substances, surprise, surprise, include drugs that we doctors actually prescribe. The most notorious of all those is paracetamol, our beautiful friend that we all tend to love. When it's taken in excess, affects your liver, and many other drugs as well. But there are also poisons that are not prescribed by doctors, including in herbal medication. So you take herbs, your body is going to try to get rid of all those poisons. Yes, they work in treating whatever you're trying to treat, but the liver has to do the hard work, the heavy lifting of getting it out. And as it does that, the cells themselves are exposed to the item itself and maybe the byproducts of the same. Then the things that you ingest. And the most notorious in this category is alcohol. Alcohol has a tremendous impact on many parts of your body, but in the liver in particular, because the liver, you take in what you're taking, you're very happy, the liver does the heavy lifting, get rid of it. And it's important here to bring in the concept of capacity. The liver can take out about 14 grams per hour. 14 grams is like 380 mils of beer, if it's 5%. And if you're taking the heavy whiskey stuff, it's about 45 mils, essentially. That's what it can take out per hour. If you take more than that, then it becomes overwhelmed, in such situations. There are instances where the liver is affected, not by any of these things I've discussed, but because of abnormal growths, the cancers that then we speak about. You're just doing your business, you probably go to the gym 7 times a week, you eat the healthiest food in the world, but then cancer happens. And that can cause you a serious problem. The heart, when there's a lot of back pressure, will cause the liver to swell. There are multiple issues that can cause the liver to have damage. It's important to generally be checked. Now, I'll go back to the terminologies that you also speak about. Fatty liver, what does that mean? Fatty liver.
Just before we go there, sir, I feel there's something our audiences can take away from something you said just before the last point, especially around the alcohol situation. Because I don't think do we get a lot of NASH in Africa, or is that non-alcoholic, whatever? Do we get a lot of that here?
Dr. Victor, you're quite...
I think the alcohol bit is very, very interesting. So you say that a regular bottle of beer, which is about 350 ml, it should be about what, 14 grams, you said?
14 grams approximately.
So the liver can process, essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, the liver can process at least one bottle of beer, around one bottle of beer of alcoholic content if it's 5%.
In an hour. But there's a second point to that. You don't want it processing beer the whole time because it has other work to do.
Yeah?
So,
other jobs to do.
So you're saying that in your whole day, just give it 1 hour to alcohol, let it spend the other 23 hours
doing the other bits.
Other things. And then you should also have alcohol-free days, at least 2. So that when you speak about fairly, I can't say exactly safe, but reasonable approach, then you want to expose yourself to 14 grams a day maximum, and then probably maximum of 5 days in a week. When you do more than
that's like basically just I think Kenyans are hearing you, and some Kenyans are feeling like you're saying 1 bottle of beer a day. And don't have a beer and a headache on the same day. So you have beer and paracetamol and all these other...
Absolutely, because it's a serious reaction. It sounds like a very small issue. But when you hear doctors tell you all the time, don't take alcohol when you're taking drugs. Big part of that is because these drugs you're taking, who's getting rid of because they're poisons generally. Now who's getting rid of that? It's the liver. Then you're giving your liver the work of getting rid of alcohol and drugs, and that interaction can be extremely dangerous. And it is, many times it is. Yeah, so that's a...
Okay.
And now, allow me to just break down that 14 grams.
Please do.
If you talk about percentage, 14 grams in 100 mLs, that is 14%. Okay, so I hope that makes it easier for you. If you see 5% alcohol, it has 5 grams in 100 mLs. You see 50%, it has 50 grams in 100 mLs, basically. So what you're saying, 14 grams. Do the math. Kenyans are really bright people. Figure out what works for you. Now, someone can tell me that I've been drinking all my life and I'm easy. Man, there's a problem. Because that's how you feel. But I promise you, more than 90% of guys who drink excessively, if you were to check the liver, do an ultrasound or even in postmortem, the liver is super fatty. Almost everyone who drinks excessively has a fatty liver because it's asymptomatic. The liver has tremendous capacity. But
it is resilient. It takes a lot of punishment.
But then, unfortunately, when it gives up, it doesn't have a replacement. So what will happen after fatty liver, the next stage is actually something called cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is scarring. The liver gets scarred. So that way you should have tissue that can work. Now you have a scar. It's just that you cannot see it. And when that scarring becomes extensive, the liver loses its function. Unfortunately, when you get to liver failure, there is only one treatment. If it's because of scarring, you need a transplant. The kidneys, if it fails, we can do dialysis, no problem. The heart, when it fails, we can either give you a pacemaker, we can give you something to boost your heart and so on. But for your liver, either you get a transplant or and I can tell you there are many, my clinical life have been ICU, very young people in their 30s whose lives, liver failure is pretty bad. It has tremendous functions. So that's the other thing that's important to know. We spoke about resilience, but you shouldn't squander your liver. It will take a lot of damage. You'll feel absolutely nothing until it's too late. So get checked, avoid these things that you can avoid, but also remember that a number of the liver issues that we face are not because of anything that you have done. It's because of other factors. You spoke about NASH, Dr. Victor, which is a pretty strong term. You can have non-alcoholic, fatty liver, and the other SH is quite, I don't want to bug people with it, but you can also have liver disease that is not alcohol-related. That's how significant alcohol is. Normally it's because of things like obesity. Again, it's a big conversation. If you can keep your BMI okay, that's pretty good, especially around the abdomen. Keep that weight down, it's good for you. Then other factors that are not really under your control, something like diabetes. Diabetes that you just can't do anything about, then there are those you can control in your own life. And one other area we don't speak much about is your body can, for some reason, just decide to fight your liver. It's called autoimmune diseases, also a very big common. So if you're someone with liver disease, you don't feel, okay, maybe they've done something, not necessarily. Quite a number, for example, Lillian's case, it's, absolutely nothing. A perfectly healthy person who doesn't engage in anything else, these things still happen.
And in all cases, you find that element of stigma you know, and most of the people will want to stigmatize you or perhaps, you know, just point fingers and all that. I think it needs to be understood this evening that it's not necessarily about, you know, careless living and all that.
Absolutely.
Yes, all right, allow us to take a short break, yes?
Yes, indeed.
And then we come back to you, Dr. Ronald, as well as the nutritionist of the house. I know you would tell us, please, let's not talk about medicine. How about we just talk about food, and you save ourselves from all this, that and much more after this short break.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Once again, I'll just mention them, one name, yeah?
Yes.
We have Dr. Paul, Dr. Victor, we have Dr. Catherine, we also have Ronald, yes, we have Lillian,
Ronald
as
is also
well
Dr.
as
Ronald.
Yes, he's also a doctor.
Yeah.
And I think the next question goes to him, right?
Indeed.
Okay, I want you to play the role of a public health officer, Daktari, in this case, and perhaps tell us just how individuals and communities can actively participate in understanding these concerns of liver and, you know, liver health in general.
I think basically our curriculum needs to emphasize this much more at elementary level and probably even at secondary school level. Because you realize like things like alcoholism, most people who start these things, they start it in high school or immediately after high school. So we really need to give emphasis to this community education at that point. Then for those people who have been affected or have had issues with their liver, then they also need to act like advocates in the community to basically spread the word. And this means that as doctors, we have a role to educate our patients much more. And when you're educating the patients, you also need to educate the relatives, because that is how we spread this gospel. And I think having similar fora subsequently in all other places will be a good thing to spread this word about healthy liver and things like that. And basically, if we do this in both the social media and such kind of platforms, then probably we're going to spread this message much more. We've not had a serious mobilization and probably campaign about liver issues to a greater extent. And I think a major part of our population definitely is not well informed about liver issues and things that revolve around it. What are the risk factors and predisposing factors, and how they can prevent it from happening. And if it happens, what are their alternatives, you know. So these are things that we really need to emphasize on. We also need to better equip our health facilities in the machinery so that these simple lab tests can be done in these various facilities. Yeah. So I think that is pretty much what we need to do to create much more awareness on this. Yeah.
So it has happened. What are the alternatives?
Yeah. Yeah. We need to know what are the alternatives. But like Dr. Victor said,
right.
Really your alternatives depends with what is causing it. Because if and how far and to what extent this liver disease has gone. For instance, if it's about alcoholism, before you reach the point of cirrhosis, what we'll tell you is that abstain from alcohol. And then we'll tell you that these other things can also injure your liver, and so abstain from them too. Come back for regular checkups. Let's see how it goes. If it's already to the point of cirrhosis, there's pretty little much that you can do. We'll just basically be trying to stabilize you here and there and to control the situation. Other things like the viral causes, it depends really again what is causing it. If it is hepatitis B and C, then you'll require prolonged treatment and follow-up as well. If it's A and B, we'll tell you, let's look at your liver enzymes probably in a week or two. But in the meantime, we just also give you probably rehydration because these kind of conditions gives you a lot of vomiting and diarrhea. So we really need to rehydrate you and to ensure that you're well hydrated. But overall, the body is going to take care of it. Again, if it's about paracetamol poisoning and toxicity, there are antidotes to that, and we are able to some extent, to be able to counter it. So it really depends with what has caused this disease and how far has it gone to, so that we can say that truly we have a way out. Now, liver disease can also be caused by things like accident. You can get an accident and then you injure your liver, and probably it's lacerated and it's bleeding. In such kind of a case, then you take you to surgery and patch up whatever is bleeding up so that it doesn't extend. So basically, it really depends with what has caused it and how far has it extended to.
So how crucial is early detection? We all would want to assume that we understand that once it's diagnosed at an early stage, then you're safer. But just how?
I think it's key. It's just like, it's the same way Dr. Nyongesa will tell you that if it's cancer and we've detected early, we have so many alternatives. Similarly, the good thing is, as much as there's a lot of resilience in the liver, but there'll be early telltale signs. Your eyes becoming yellow, you're starting to itch, your urine is changing color, you're having a discomfort in your, there'll be something telling you that something is not right with you. So the earlier you come, the better. Because again, time is of essence.
All
the
right.
more you spend time, you waste time, it will be a progressive disease. It becomes very difficult to handle.
Okay. All right, we now cross back to the person who tells us about food and food and food. Upon diagnosis, what happens?
So once you're diagnosed, you come to the clinic and we do something we call a body composition analysis, because we want to know not only your BMI, but what is the composition of your body. So that will tell us your nutrition status. So once we know your fat composition, your mineral composition, your protein levels in your body, then we can break down that and unpack it for you in a way where you are able to understand. So then now we look at which type of liver disease do you have. Is it the end stage? Is it the fatty liver? Is it the alcoholic liver? And such like that. And then now we take it one by one. So if it's the end stage, then there are things we have to restrict. Yeah, like proteins, that we'll have to calculate what proteins is for that stage of liver disease. Is it the first, second, or is it all the way to the end stage? Then if it's cirrhosis or cancer, we also have to unpack that for you, what it means you have that disease and the impact in nutrition. So in terms of if you have things like gallstones or liver issues, then now we check what is the function of that liver and what does it mean and what will stop working, and do we need to put you on supplements and things like that. Because the liver has functions of vitamin K storage and things like that. So if you're not able to store that, then we have to get supplements for it. Then we calculate your diet, we calculate your proteins, we calculate your carbohydrates. per day, and we break that for you per meal, per snack, so that it now tallies all the way to the end. Yeah.
Would you care to tell us what would be, I mean, if we haven't got a diagnosis of something, a problem related to the liver, what generally should we be consuming more or less of just to maintain a healthy liver?
Okay, so let me take it back from the type of oils that I had mentioned and the healthy ones and the non-healthy ones. So science has broken down oils in 4 types of fatty acids. So we have the saturated, unsaturated, monosaturated, and polyunsaturated. So from those 4, there are the 3 healthy ones, which if you look at the oils, one that has the highest of the healthy ones is the healthy oil. I think that's making sense.
That's what you call the healthy one.
Exactly.
It just has the highest number of healthy
oils.
Right.
Yeah. So that makes olive at the very top because of the type of healthy oils that it has versus the unhealthy ones.
So wait. Just to be clear, all of them have some unhealthy
and some healthy.
But
the levels is what
it's
determines.
The levels.
Exactly.
Critical.
So once we say that if your oil is solid at room temperature, then that is not healthy. Because what makes it solid is the saturated fat. So that makes it solid at room temperature. Yeah. So olive oil is at the top. Then we have your canola oil, which comes slightly after. Then we have your sunflower oil comes after. Then now we have the vegetable oils. Then the seed oils. Then the animal oils at the end.
But hang on a second. Are those vegetable oils actually vegetable? Are they from vegetables, or is it just
some are, some aren't, depending on which you are using. We don't want to mention the companies per se, but there are some that are extracted from and some that are manufactured.
I see.
Yes. So once we get to talk to you about the type of oils, and now we talk about food preparation. You have the oil, but how are you preparing the food to make sure the oil is not turned into an unhealthy oil? Yeah. So you might have your olive oil, but you are using it in an unhealthy way. Is it making sense? So you have your extra virgin, which is supposed to be just for salad dressing, but you want to use it for your frying. That makes it unhealthy. Because now we have the virgin oil for your frying and the extra virgin just for your salad dressings. So if you can't get the extra virgin or the virgin oils, then now you use the canola, which is good for basic type of cooking, but not for deep frying.
Canola is rapeseed, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can use it for basic frying or pan frying, baking, grilling, but not for deep frying. Because now the what is it called? The temperature, once it gets a specific temperature, it changes to trans fats. So that is the unhealthy bit. So then now you have your sunflower. Then that is good enough for deep frying.
For deep frying, okay.
Yes. But now remember, you don't want to eat a lot of deep fried foods because at the end of the day, now it's fats storage into your liver. Yeah. Okay. So in conjunction to that, now you have your vegetables and your fruits, which gives you fiber. Fiber is good enough, helps to get the cholesterol out of your body, the excess cholesterol. It gets you fuller for longer, so you're not eating every other 30 minutes or 1 hour. Yeah. Then now you have your whole grains, which also give you fiber and makes you fuller for longer, as
what
opposed
do you mean
to
when you say whole grains for Kenyans that are watching?
So the whole grains are talk about the wimbi ugali. I talk about the grade 2 ugali, the one that has not been refined kabisa. I talk about the whole grain bread, but bread there's the yeast factor, so that is also something else. We talk about your brown chapati. We talk about your brown rice, your whole grain pasta. So all these type of carbohydrates have the other side of that coin, which is healthier than the processed one.
Wow, beautiful. There are times I remember we used to call it mrego. You know what mrego is?
Which one? Is the one for
posho meal? Like literally, I don't know whether there are any posho meals anymore.
Oh, there are.
There are very many of them. When was the last time?
Every self-respecting person in my village has a posho meal. If you have a posho meal,
you have to go all the way to the village.
No, you have achieved.
And now that has to be all the way Uko Western Kenya, Ushago, but not in Nairobi. Anyway, sorry for another day. Right. Let's talk about just how affordable, expensive, easy the treatment can be in the country. Because most of the times, Victor, you'll agree with me that we have had conversations revolving around health. The people will always complain about how with my NHIF, I can't access this, with all this and everything.
The cost of it.
Your experience in terms of cost, in terms of access to medication, even as they are going to tell us what kind of medication and how easy it is and for how long.
Well, at that point, and things might have changed as of date, but at that point, access to medication, especially when it came to the liver functionality, was not too clear. I remember when the considerations were being made around now operating on my liver, the element was to get a liver slicer, and apparently there was only one in the country, as I mentioned before. Wow. And even then, the doctors were not certain, because they're like, there are people who are being trained via video to learn how to do this. I'm like, so my family was like, there is no way we're going to try this. Yes, I don't know, but those were like, my doctors were saying that. And so I was like, if they can say that, how am I going to trust that, I'll be in safe hands? So, and of course, the cost also is extremely high. Even getting like the experts who are specific on operating on the liver was not very clear at that point. So we had to make a decision to go to India. And so I did proceed to India to get the treatment with the liver at that point. So all that is extremely expensive. If you've been in hospital for a while, there's only a limit where insurance gets you, right? It gets to a point where there's no insurance, there's no NHIF, you pretty much have to get into your pockets. And so they're saying that, you're only one disease away, chronic disease away from poverty. It's so true. Because suddenly you're facing situations whereby you've exhausted all your funds, you have to get into your immediate families and friends and to just fundraise to get you through, because it's an emergency surgery and you need the money. So it can be very taxing. I don't think we have enough fallback plans for financing medical care within the country. That experience was horrifying. And I'm grateful for friends and family who came through to help me get through that season, because between my husband and I, we had exhausted everything we had with the previous surgeries. And then suddenly you have this situation that needs another major surgery. So it was quite trying, especially on the financial part of it, and just access to medical care and information in itself. And I'm very glad that there's forums like this to discuss it. Right. Then we didn't know, it's either you're relying on Dr. Google or whoever you meet there, at that point tell you. And you're guessing a lot of, and you don't have a lot of people who've gone through it who can tell you, hey, I did this, or talk to so-and-so, It's basically you're trusting the next person you meet with whatever information. But since then, I'm really grateful for having met, Dr. Koigi and Dr. Ngani as well, who've been very helpful in sort of the recovery process since then, and now helping me to, myself and the baby, to safely get through the delivery process is very useful. But again, coming from where we were, there's not too much information, and there's a lot more that needs to be said, especially about the liver.
Right. What does it speak about the country? And this in relation to very many other, medical conditions that we have. Up until date, we still have cancer patients complaining and crying. Oncology centers, medication, and all this. Even as we narrow it down to liver, what does it speak about the country and the state that we are at in terms of medication?
So I would say in the past, since 2015, NHIF kicked in to support cancer patients, and it has been a positive impact, because before it was all out of pocket. The cover is not comprehensive, but it reduces the financial burden. And also people should not wait until you are sick before you are insured. And I think that is why now the current government is now moving to social health insurance, where everyone is not left behind. We all contribute to improve healthcare access and make treatment more affordable. So you don't wait when you are sick to enroll, but it's like mandatory. If you cannot afford, you'll have to join that social health insurance. So it's a matter of time. We see how it comes in, because they're saying even when you exhaust, you may have some fallback plans. But obviously healthcare is an expensive venture. Any sickness is a life-changing event in anybody's life, and we always have to prepare. You never know about tomorrow. So have some little saving to support when you exhaust your insurance. And some treatments can be very, very costly. For example, if it's cancer, liver cancer, I'm glad that now we have in our country hepatobiliary team. This is a team of surgeons, physicians who have come together to try and tackle these liver problems. And that hepatobiliary team cuts across, but mainly based at Kenyatta Hospital, and they meet every Tuesday. So they discuss liver issues and how best to approach. And that has also been maybe an eye-opener, and many patients are benefiting from such kind of forums. And we're also glad that you've given us this opportunity to talk about this, create awareness, and also create hope, because she's just been a beacon of hope that yes, the liver can be damaged. It can be costly to treat, but there's always hope. It is very resilient. It can grow back to normal. And also it gives us an opportunity in our life to be more aware about our liver health. So you don't wait until it's too late before you seek medical help. And avoid all these things. You know, there are things that you can do something about. Alcohol, it's a major menace in our community, in our young people. I mean, I have siblings who've gone through this. You know, alcoholism, it's not good. It damages the liver, the kidney. So anything you do, please do to moderation. Reduce on tobacco use, and also go for vaccination. We have vaccination against hepatitis. You can get it even in your adulthood. So it's not just for children alone, even adults can get. And yeah, thank you.
Dr. Paul, you know, this talk of medication can get to as layman as, and I'll say it in Swahili probably so that it makes sense. Tablets ni za kalawite. Umesema umediagnosiwa hivi. Mimi nilikuwa nayo na nilipewa tablets za kalawite ama za kalablu. Talk to us about the aspect of medication, the kind of medicine to expect. Sometimes you'll be told, well, there's no medicine to this, it's only food, or it's only painkillers to manage the pain until everything goes back to normalcy. So what is this that when we're talking about medication, we should expect upon diagnosis?
So thank you for that question. I think it's a vital one to addressing this important subject. I think as Dr. Nyongesa mentioned, that the first thing that we could try to do is adjust lifestyles so that you reduce the primary factor that you can control that is contributing to the damage. So within the context of trying to treat issues in relation to the liver, the first one I would say is that if the problem that you're having in your liver is related to a specific cause that can be identified, for example, if you have malaria, that is the primary cause of the damage in the liver, treat the malaria. Finish with it, get it out. Secondly, if it's something which is due to multiple issues, there are things which are called supportive treatment, and then there are things which are called definitive treatment. So the definitive treatment is the one I mentioned earlier, where you're saying if you can identify a coherent cause, that you have done the tests, you've come up with a diagnosis and said the problem is X, address it. Within the context of saying that you may not have a specific diagnosis, or even if you have a diagnosis, it's not something that you have a specific set of medications to treat. For instance, if you're dealing with somebody who has had liver cirrhosis or who has developed liver failure, and it's in a space where it is tending towards the breaking point where it becomes irreversible, then you may not be able to actually specifically say you're going to treat it with medication X or medication Y. But for the other conditions which are directly associated, you can actually moderate your treatment of those conditions so that you reduce the degree of damage that these medications cause to the liver. As Dr. Ngani had mentioned earlier, every medication you take is poison. And Dr. Nyongesa had also mentioned that even the chemotherapies, they're all poisonous. So if you know that this patient's liver is failing to X degree, say for instance, it's failed to 40 or 50, 70, 80%, then there's actually a formula that is available to use to moderate the dosage of those medications so that you reduce the damage that is being caused to the liver, so that if you can reduce the insulting agent, for instance, if it is a tumor that has spread to the liver, if you can treat the tumor as much as possible while regulating it within the ability of the liver to manage, then you're still able to achieve the dosage of the medication required, because if the liver can't clear the medications, then the dose of the medicine will be higher in the body. Therefore, the poison will be more. But if you can moderate it, then you actually still have a good degree of hope. Then, of course, there are also a few other supportive things that you can do. For instance, one of the things that we keep on talking about, please take good amounts of fluid, water. Water in particular, not just fluids, but water as water. So thank you for offering us some.
Oh, brilliant.
Can tell me things.
You're also helping.
Thank you very much.
You're also helping keep our livers and kidneys healthy.
Liver champions.
Oh, yes.
I do believe, and it's wonderful that you said that all of us need to put in our shift to make sure that there's awareness and there's actually, like, we normalize this as something we look after. This first one of ours, this heavyweight champion that we rely on for so much, we need to really protect that. And I think we can segue what you just said into a session where I would like each of you to figure out something from your heart, something important, something big, with the little time that we have left.
5 minutes.
I'd like to give all of you just a moment to communicate something from your heart, from your experience to Kenyans right now. It's a big conversation. We've had an opportunity. We've had like an hour and a half to try and talk about it, but I know there's a lot more that we could talk about that we haven't. But if you had one thing to say, this thing, you cannot live here without having delivered that to Kenyans, what would that thing be? Now, who's the most prepared? Who's got that one thing?
Dr. Ngari is, you can see.
Dr. Ngari is just
my hand is up for different reasons. Just allow me to just highlight 3 important things.
Please.
The first is, we can't talk about liver disease without speaking about aflatoxins. When you store grain improperly, there's some fungus and some mold that comes into it, and that's extremely poisonous to the liver. We've seen that in Kenya. People have died. That yellowness in the eyes because the liver is failing, and it can be poisonous. That's the first thing I need to mention. It's very important.
So that talks about even how we keep our harvest.
How we keep our grains. One of the causes of liver damage that we did speak about in this one is very important that we understand that.
Brilliant.
The second thing is, you've ever seen someone who's gone out drinking, then the following day he's vomiting blood everywhere, and everyone thinks they've been poisoned. But in fact, it's not poisoning. It's just because they've been drinking for a very long time. The liver is shrunken. They have what is called portal hypertension. The vessels in the lower part of the food pipe are bulging. They burst and they bleed out. Guys have been lynched because someone has drunk excessively. People are thinking he was poisoned. So if you see someone who's been drinking and they vomit excessively blood, the most likely cause is they damage their liver. And this is an important message across board. Let's stop lynching people. Let's stop killing people for other people's choices. That's the second important thing. The third thing relates to what my friend Lillian said earlier about Kenya versus other countries like India. I want us to know that Kenya has actually come a very long way. We may not know this. It's actually true. Kenyan doctors are some of the best in the world. When you go out to the West, you'll find the best doctors there. Winning awards are Kenyan doctors. When it comes to the liver, the challenge we have is equipment. And I needed to clarify the question of training. Kenyatta, we trained doctors in liver surgery, but they didn't have the equipment for it. Kenyatta thankfully invested in it. And the practice is like this. When you get new equipment, you must get training on that equipment. That is the safest thing, best standard. In the past, they will send experts. But after COVID now, we've realized you can actually do this training virtually. You don't have to be told this is the situation. Dr. Kwegi is a great expert in advanced GYN procedures or OBS-GYN procedures. If I take him to a country where there's no equipment, it's going to be, you can't do much. And when we get equipment there, whatever equipment it is, you must learn. Therefore, let's acknowledge that Kenya has come a long way. The team in KNH is doing a fantastic job. Dr. Nyongesa and team, cancer care has come we used to send patients to India for PET scans. Now we have a number. So then, my take home, two things. Number one, please do checks. Just have checks regularly, if you can. The things that you can adjust, the most significant one is alcohol intake. Moderate it. See, someone can drink excessively and just fine. Alcohol will kill a lot of brain cells. If you don't need your brain for many things, it's fine. You can drink excessively, it's just okay. But if you need your brain for real things, you'll notice the difference. You'll notice the difference. So the liver, the brain, and other organs in your body will be affected. My apologies if anyone is offended. I'll wear my helmet, but I'm hoping you'll hear me and just take care of yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Dr. Ronald, real quick, what's your takeaway?
I think just to build up on what is said about alcoholism, a female person and a male person cannot drink alcohol of the same amount for
the same period.
For the same period with the same effect. The way women are designed, they should be drinking lesser alcohol than men.
Wow. Okay.
So if you're drinking the same amount of alcohol, you're going to fall faster than the man.
Okay.
So that is number one. Number two, when you are sick, get healthcare provision from certified providers. So if you're not able to afford a good private hospital or mission hospital, go to a public hospital. They still have very qualified doctors there. Yeah, because from personal experience, we know of people who are sweepers in Kenyatta, but they had private clinics in Kibera. And these are people who are being consulted. So things will just complicate as time goes by because you are not consulting the right people.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you. What about you? What's your takeaway?
My takeaway would be we normally take nutrition and diet as others per se. You want to see your doctor, you want your doctor to tell you the diet, you want to see your nurse, whoever, to tell you the diet, but there are experts to do that. Remember, doctors and nurses just do it for a module, maybe 3 months or so, but we do it for 4 years and even 2+ after we've done the 4 years. So remember, there's the expert that does the diet and nutrition. So once you have to go to at least your nutritionist twice a year or once a year, do the body composition analysis. Let's stop doing the BMI calculations and all that. That doesn't help us at all. So let's go to do the checkup and do the body composition analysis, get to know the actual composition of our body. Is it more fat? Is it more protein? What is the water composition? What are the analyses in terms of nutrients and minerals? So once you get that, then that nutritionist will be able to guide you in terms of what to eat, what to prepare, and things like that.
All right,
yes.
right. Thank you for that. Dr. Catherine, do you have something else that you add?
For me, I say thank you so much. The liver is like a football-sized organ in the upper part of our abdomen, very key to our body. And a simple test like an ultrasound scan can detect some of the changes, and intervention can be given. Every patient with a liver complication will be treated individually. Not all the liver diseases are the same.
Excellent. Love that. Thank you. Dr. Koigi, quick as you can.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to share and empower people with the right knowledge. I want to add that there is more empowerment readily available. Please do follow us on our social media pages. We have a lot more information that's available for us to share so that we make the right decisions on the basis of informed knowledge.
Speaking of the social media pages, what's your social media page?
So on Instagram at Dr_Paul_Koigi and Dr. Paul Koigi on Facebook.
Excellent. Yes. The rest of you are famous enough to just Google and we'll find. Lillian, our beacon of hope. What is your takeaway message? Quick as you can. That's your camera.
For me, my takeaway message is it is possible to reverse a damaged liver situation with healthy choices in terms of food, nutrition, and just the lifestyle changes. I have seen it happen to myself. Also take regular checks, and beyond just checking, follow what you're told. Like a lot of us are told the same things. Hey, you have a fatty liver, but we don't take it serious until it gets to worse. That was not my case, but I think there's a lot of information now that is available. Let's take heed about it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Linda, do you have a takeaway?
Well, I think I've learned enough, and because we're being told to go out of this space.
But I have a takeaway. Number one, kuchafua meza haibambi tena. But tusafishe meza na maji. Number two, BMI is no longer the catchword. BCA. BCA. That's the situation. And check again.
Check and check.
Organ.
Thank you. We have to close it. Once again, Dr. Paul Koigi, specialist of gynecologist. Let me jump that one. Dr. Victor Ngani, who's a counselor, FIDE, or FIDA, Medical Commission, as well as Ronald Wawengwe Okelo, Medical Officer in Pisha Hospital. And we also had Lilian Cheruto, CEO, Cranford Resource Group. Thank you so much, as well as Award Joyce, nutritionist. Thank you so much for speaking to us. And last but not least, Dr. Catherine Nyongesa, Chief Executive and, of course, founder of Texas Cancer Center. Ladies and gentlemen, and of course we have so much feedback. Many of the people appreciating what it is that we have given them in terms of information this evening. My name is Linda Alela. I look forward to see you again on Tuesday.
All right, and my name is Victor Muyakani. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for choosing us to inform you. May you have a good night full of God's blessings.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.